I know everyone is trying to figure out exactly what they should be doing right now because there's a lot going on. So I figured right now would be a good time for me to share with you all the preps that I'm buying and what I'm stockpiling right now. I'm trying to fill some holes in my inventory, but I'm also trying to anticipate certain scarcities here in the future. So let's talk about what those items are, why I'm getting them now, and I might give you some ideas about where you can find them for yourself. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about the preps that I am buying. What am I stockpiling right now? This is important because it's information we can share with each other, especially down in the comments if you'd like, to kind of talk about what it is we're attacking in the sense of preps so that the rest of us can get some ideas about what we might want to be doing as well. You might say that this could create additional panic buying, but in reality, our community is very small on the grand scale, and we have to keep that in mind that helping each other is actually more important than worrying about what the masses might do in reaction. And if you're worried about preparing for what the masses might do, then hit the subscribe button below because I think they'll do something eventually. Now, here's the preps that I'm stockpiling and buying right now, just based on a few factors. Some of it's just stuff that I need, some of it's because I think it'll be more scarce here very soon, and I also think that we have to help each other out with other ideas once in a while because we can get a little too hyper-focused on certain categories of preparedness. So make sure you leave in the comments below what you are getting for yourself as well so that we can get some ideas about what everybody's doing, maybe open up our minds a little bit to some new ideas. And I will put links in the description as well as in the pinned comment to where you can find some of this stuff. Some of these things I might be affiliated with, I might work with the companies, other things I don't at all, but I think they're important things for you to have. And I found that some of them, when you buy directly from the manufacturer, actually end up being cheaper than if you buy from somewhere like Amazon. So it's actually very interesting how this is all working right now. But the first thing that I'm getting in the sense of preps and items that I'm stockpiling right now, it sounds weird because it's not something I'm really into, but it's going to be MREs. And the reason I'm getting MREs right now is because they do have a purpose. I don't rely on them as like a long-term sustainable food source, but for things like bug out bags or for vehicles or for just getting away from an emergency situation and having food that's ready to eat at any point in time, they can be very valuable in those scenarios. And MREs are flying off the shelf, and they're very expensive now compared to what they used to be even just a month ago. So this is something I'm getting right now, and I'm giving you the heads up because what I could have bought literally 2 weeks ago for $80 is now like $120. So just keep that in mind because this is just where things are heading, and the longer you wait, the more you're gonna pay for it in the end, okay? Another thing I'm getting right now is good old propane, because propane is getting more expensive as well, just like every other fuel out there if you haven't noticed. And one thing about propane is that it stores forever. And so this is just an example of propane. There's many other ways to store it, larger tanks that become more efficient and save you more money by getting propane in alternate fashions. But even if you were just to go to the store and pick one of these up right now, I believe I paid $55 for this as a brand new tank that's full rather than a refill. But honestly, a month ago, I could have got the same thing for like $46. So it's going up in price, and the more you have of it, the better. I have a generator that runs propane. I have many different heat sources that run propane. I can cook with propane. It does everything. So there's no real reason not to have more of it because it lasts forever and it's always going to be valuable, okay? Another thing I'm getting, preps I'm getting right now, I'm stocking up on these, is batteries, specifically lithium-ion batteries, rechargeable batteries, or just high-end batteries for electronics and technology, because when it comes to things like flashlights or optics or anything that requires those high-end lithium-ion batteries to operate at peak performance, I'm getting extras of all of them. And the reason is because lithium could be a little bit harder to source here very soon, based on things that are happening around the world, and those are gonna get more expensive, harder to get, and especially when you talk about rechargeables, we know that people enjoy the fact that they don't have to throw it away and can keep using it over and over again. And when it comes to having, I don't know, access to things that can power things from the sun, AKA like a solar generator, well, I can recharge those batteries and keep those flashlights up and running for eternity, right? Of course not. They have a cycle life, I know. I'm just saying that in general, those are good things to have, but I expect them to get harder and harder to come by, especially the very popular ones. So lithium-ion batteries, a good thing to pick up right now, get extras. And if you get the rechargeables, make sure you have a way to recharge them too. Don't forget, you might need a docking port of some kind, all right? Another thing on the list, what I'm stocking up on right now, magazines, okay? Firearm magazines. Here's some magazines right here. Now, I'm getting more magazines for a few reasons. One, because people are freaking out and they're buying stuff like that again, okay? Two, because with the supply chain disruptions and everything going on, if you have niche magazines, so I'm not talking about like Magpul P mags, and I'm not talking about like Glock 17 mags or something like that, but if you have niche magazines like what these are, which are 6-hour P227 magazines, or 227, however you want to say it, these are going to be harder to get because that's a discontinued model of firearm, which means they're not going to produce magazines for it forever. And so I'm getting extras now while they're available, while I have access to them, and while things are still up and running, so I don't have that regret eventually in the future where I'm like, man, I really should have got more of those magazines. The other reason I'm getting more magazines right now is because with the standard capacity ban that's going into place in Washington State here very soon, a lot of people in Washington are buying the crap out of standard capacity magazines all over the country right now, because if they have them before the law takes place, they'll be grandfathered in. So you're competing with an entire state of people who are freaking out right now trying to get as many magazines as they can. So I'm also going to get some more magazines, and of course if things fall apart, magazines are always good to have, but just keep in mind you got to keep them loaded and you got to have enough ammo to load your magazine. So find that balance too, because if you don't have enough ammo to load all the magazines, you probably spent your money a little bit wrong on that ratio somewhere. Things to consider, okay? Now, another thing that I'm getting right now, and things that are definitely looking to be scarce here very soon, are going to be gas mask filters. Now, I think getting CBRN protective equipment is very important. However, gas mask filters are really the part of the gas mask that saves your life and makes the air clean to breathe, right? Well, those filters, many of them anyway, are manufactured in countries like Russia, and they might be hard to get at some point in time. So, to keep that in mind, gas mask filters are very valuable, okay? And Mira Safety has the Dot Pro 320, which is a 40mm NATO size filter, so it'll even work for some of your surplus gas masks you might still have, and it's only $50, and it pretty much does everything you would need it to do, and it lasts 7.5 years on the shelf. So for $50, they're definitely good to get, and they're still available right now, but I literally don't have any idea for how long. And if you want to spend a little more money, you can spend $80, get the NBC 77 SOF filter, which does everything you could want it to do, and it lasts 20 years on the shelf. Either way, stocking up on those filters might be even more important than getting gas masks right now. Obviously, if you don't have a gas mask, it doesn't really make sense to just have a bunch of filters, but at the same time, you might want to get a filter now that you can afford, and then when you get your gas mask, you don't have to worry about the fact that you can't get filters. It's kind of like buying ammo before you buy a gun. If you can't get the ammo when you do finally get the gun, can't use it anyway. Things to consider, okay? And like I said, links for all this stuff is down below in the description or in the pinned comment, but either way, this is just what I'm doing right now, and it's hopefully gonna help give you some ideas. Another thing that I'm buying right now is canned goods. Just good old canned food. It's still affordable, and in fact, I'm ordering it online. Most of this stuff I'm ordering online. And the reason behind that is because A, gas is expensive and I live really far away from anywhere where I'm gonna be able to buy a lot of this stuff. And B, because it's actually cheaper online a lot of times, but how long will that last? I don't know. But I just ordered a crap load of canned vegetables from Walmart, okay? And they were cheap. I'm talking real cheap for comparing it at least to like my local grocery store. And they're gonna be delivered right to my front door, and I don't have to spend any money on gas or anything else. Do I like supporting Walmart? No, of course not. Do I like getting a lot of cheap canned food that I can store away for preparedness, especially in times like this? Yes, I do. So sometimes I have to figure out risk versus reward, and right now I'm getting what I can that's the most affordable I can find, and that is very affordable, I will tell you that much. The other thing to consider is that canned goods are only going to go up in value. You buy them now, they'll be worth more in a year, and with inflation right now, the money you're spending on these canned goods is worth less than the food itself. So either way, I'm getting more canned goods, because ready-to-eat food that is just in your pantry ready to go and then can be rotated out, why not? More of it is better, regardless of how you look at it. All right, so moving on from there, another important thing is going to be water filters. Filters have a shelf life in the sense of you can only use them for so much water before they degrade. And at the end of the day, having clean water during any kind of SHTF style disaster is going to be extremely important. Now, Berkey water filters are going up in price, have gone up pretty high in price, and they're one of the standards for clean water during an emergency. So if you don't have a Berkey filter system, I would definitely suggest looking at one and picking one up because they're just a great thing to have. If you have to source water from somewhere other than what you're used to, it's nice to know that it's been filtered properly through a system that's not going to kill you when you drink it. Now the other thing to consider, and those filters are going really high in price, I'm not going to lie to you. I looked at the prices literally today and I was like, crap. But that's what they're doing, and the more the better because you're going to need to switch them out eventually, right? Well, other thing that I would suggest that I bought, and might be something you want, this is just based on what's happening right now, but Seychelles, okay? Seychelles makes a radiological water filter, which gets rid of radiological contaminants in the water. And if you combine that with a Berkey filter, I mean, you're really making sure that whatever you're drinking is very clean. And if there ever was a nuclear incident of any kind for, I don't know, whatever reason there might be one, this can clean the water in your area in order to make it safe for you to drink, okay? And that might be very important here very soon. And I actually bought one of the pitchers, which is great because if you have a family, you don't want to have to give everybody a water bottle and wait for that to do its job. But the pitcher is really made for clean water. So you would want to use it in conjunction with something like a Berkey filter if you're sourcing your water from like a freshwater source outside or something like that. But they also make a very cool water bottle that has an advanced Rad filter in it, which is also made for like outdoor water. So you can dump stream right into the bottle, close it and drink it, and it's gonna clean it just like a Sawyer Mini would, but it's also gonna get rid of things like viruses, and it's gonna get rid of things like radiological contaminants. And I don't know why that might be important eventually here, but it might be important eventually here. So those are things I'm picking up. And just so you're aware, their radiological filters remove, let's see, radon 222, gross beta, alpha radium 226, cesium 137 and 134, and uranium. So those are things that it'll get rid of for you, which other filters might not. And yes, some Berkey filters have been known to remove radiological components as well, but not to the degree, or at least not being able to advertise to the degree of what Seychelles can do. And I'm not affiliated with Seychelles at all. I haven't talked to them once. I'm just buying their stuff because it seemed like a good idea, and the links below to Seychelles have nothing to do with me, but directly from the manufacturer was the cheapest way to do it. And I think if you spend like $100 there, you get free shipping. So it was cheaper to buy it from them than to try to find it somewhere else like Amazon. And actually Amazon and eBay, none of them have the radiological picture that I could find anyway. So there you go. Picture, that's great. Anyway, moving on from there. Another thing that I'm getting right now, and something you should definitely consider, is going to be Faraday bags. Because we know that with everything happening right now, the likelihood of a nuclear incident is relatively low, unless Chernobyl does the thing, whatever. But at the end of the day, if a country was to use something similar to a nuclear weapon, these days it would seem more useful to use something like an EMP now, wouldn't it? So Faraday protection is definitely something I'm getting right now and something you should be looking into. And Faraday bags are very good. I've shown you guys the crossbreed arc resistor bags here on the channel before. They're really inexpensive, 20 bucks. They fit quite a bit of stuff in them. You really can't go wrong with those. But if you want to get something heavy duty that's a little bit more user-friendly, more durable, and can fit a lot of stuff in it, make sure you check out OffGrid Trek, because OffGrid Trek actually has Faraday bags that'll fit an entire solar generator inside of them. And that's huge because if an EMP goes off and you have the ability to make power because everything was protected inside of this bag, that could definitely be a game changer. And it might be something you want to look into. And if you use the code MAGICPrepper there, no space, just MAGICPrepper, you'll actually get 10% off your order. So these are just things to consider right now, but honestly, these are the things I'm buying and that I feel like you should take a look at as well. And the last thing on this list that I think can help everybody, especially if you have the ability to, is to get some fertilizer, because it is becoming very expensive very quickly. And we know that Russia is going to cut off exports of phosphate and everything else that's used to make fertilizer. And we know that countries like China are going to keep as much of theirs as they can too, because they got to grow food, and even though they're hoarding all of it. Either way, these are things that I'm getting because I know that if I wait, it's just going to cost more, or I might not be able to get it at all. And I'll give you an example of some basic all-around general purpose fertilizer in one of the links below. And it's actually relatively inexpensive for what size bag you get delivered for free directly to you from Amazon, right? But at the same time, It's not going to do the job that everybody wants it to do. It's not going to be organic or a million other things. And composting is still a good idea. But the thing to keep in mind when it comes to composting is that it takes time, and you might not have time if you're trying to grow a survival garden, especially if you suddenly want to rely on it. These are things to consider. Look, I'm just buying this stuff and I'm telling you about it. I feel like as a community, we have to do this once in a while to give each other ideas about what to do, as well as, get ideas from you about what I can do. Because you're going to tell me stuff now that I'm not doing, that you're doing, that might help me out. And at the same time, don't get so worked up about the idea of this creating panic buying. Oh no, everyone who watches this video is going to go panic buy now. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is sharing ideas, because we're not the panic buyers. The general population is. And if the general population watched this channel, I would be like rich or something. I don't know how that works because I don't do drama channel stuff or makeup tutorials. But what I will say is that the general population is not watching. So don't worry, it's just you. The preparedness community, and we're all here to help each other. So let's help each other and make this happen and make the best of the time we have right now, because I don't know how much better things are gonna get. I'm just being honest. Anything else you got for me? MagicPrepper.com, always a good way to go. Besides that, it's gonna be it for Magic Prepper.